Okay. Okay, welcome to the morning Bhagavatam class on the 28th January. Today's verse is Canto 3, Chapter 1, verse number 20. So we'll offer prayers before we go into the verse. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Sushrushoshradadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syanmahatsevaya Vipra Punyatirthanishevanat Shunvata Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridyantasto Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhritsatam नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी तदा रजस्तमो भाव कामलोभादयश्च ये चेत एतैरनाविद्धं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति एवं प्रसन्नमनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगतः भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते विद्यते हृदयग्रन्थिश्छिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे सर्वशास्त्राब्धिपीयूषा सर्ववेदैकसत्फला सर्वसिद्धान्तरत्नाढ्या सर्वलोकैकदृक्पदा सर्वभागवतप्राणा श्रीमद्भागवता प्रभो कलिध्वान्तोदिदादित्या श्रीकृष्णा परिवर्तिता परमानन्दपाठाय प्रेमवशक्षरायते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तु मे मदेकबन्धु मत्सङ्गिन् मत्कृप मद्गुरो मन्महादना मन्निष्ठारकमद्भाग्य मदानन्द नमोऽस्तु ते असाधु साधुतादायिन् अतिनीचोच्चताकर हानमुञ्च कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्ण हृत्कण्ठयोस्फुरा ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. Okay, so today we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 1, text number 20. And this chapter is titled questions by Vidura. We covered until 19th verse yesterday, which actually has quite a bit of background of Vidura, actually, of how he ended up as a pilgrim. It's very interesting to see what's going to happen now, or what the verses now. There's a strange kind of a um, connection. So we saw in the first few verses that Maharaj Parikshit wanted to know about what was happening. What, how did Vidura end up meeting Maitreya? What happened that he had to leave and renounce? Because he was already living in a place of pilgrimage with the Pandavas around, and Krishna visits him. And despite that, he left. So what was the reasons? And so then when we see the next set of verses, we see that actually Shukadev Goswami shares about somewhat of an external reason and internal reason, if you want to say that way. The reasons that are manifest in front of the eyes are Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, mainly Duryodhana's atrocity, but not stopped by Dhritarashtra. Insult that happened towards Vidura in the presence of Dhritarashtra, despite Vidura has served him as an advisor for the longest time. So after all that, the external reasons, there are so many things that have happened that led eventually to Duryodhan just blasted Vidura. But internal reason, very beautifully, there is the verse which says about how Vidura actually processed it. Vidura thought this is actually um, the arrangement of external energy, or the workings or influences of a large external energy, that these things are happening. So now he would like to go and take shelter of internal energy, and therefore he leaves. And after he leaves, we saw that um, how he was conducting himself in his pilgrimage, how he was really like, pure, uh, pure conduct. That is like the word that's used is medya. And then independent. Independent means vivikta vritti. Vivikta vritti is independently thoughtful or independent in occupation in this in this connection, because Vidura was in official sense occupied or maintained by the royal kingdom, but now he's away from this. So independent in his conduct, or independent in his occupation. And there are other beautiful qualities that are described in the verse that we heard yesterday. Always sanctified. He was always sanctified, Sada Pluto. And then he was taking severe austerities, the sleeping on the earth, and then dressed as a mendicant. These things are, and then unseen by relatives. And he was just trying to seclude himself from any kind of relationships that were not wholesome at that point. So alone. So he was very like an avaduta kind of a personality when it came to external, what do you call, the conduct wise. But then he was very strict on his vratas. So he was not an avaduta in his vratas. So he wore avaduta vesha. He was wearing, tree bark clothing, and he did not care for decorating his body, but he was so perfectly following the vratas. He performed the vratas. So that was the only thing that he actually kept as the most important, if we can see. So now we are entering into the 20th verse, where he is going to face something that's like a harsh truth kind of a situation. Anyway, so 3:120 we'll read today. इत्थं व्रजन् भारतमेव वर्षं कालेन यावद् गतवान् प्रभासम् तावच्च शास क्षितिमेकचक्रां एकातपत्राम् अजितेन पार्थः इत्थं व्रजन् भारतमेव वर्षम् कालेन यावद् गतवान् प्रभासम् तावच्च क्षितिमेकचक्राम् एकातपत्राम् अजितेन पार्थः इत्थं व्रजन् भारतमेव वर्षम् कालेन यावद् गतवान् प्रभासम् तावच्च क्षितिमेकचक्राम् एकातपत्राम् अजितेन पार्थः. Word to word. Ittam, like this. Vrajan, while traveling. Bharatam, India. Eva, only. Varsham, the tract of land. Kalena, in due course of time. Yavat, when. Gatavan, visited. Prabhasam, the Prabhasa, pilgrimage site. Tavat, at that time. Sa, ruled. Kshitim, the world. Ekachakram, by one military force. Eka, one. Atapatram, flag. Ajitena, by the mercy of the unconquerable Krishna. Partha, Maharaj Yudhishthir. So the word Partha here refers to son of Pritha, Maharaj Yudhishthir. Translation. Thus, when he was in the land of Bharatavarsha, traveling to all the places of pilgrimage, he visited Prabhasha Kshetra. At that time, Maharaj Yudhishthir was the emperor and held the world under one military strength and one flag. So, okay, we'll read the next, the purport also. More than 5,000 years ago, while Saint Vidura was traveling the earth as a pilgrim, India was known as Bharatavarsha, as it is known even today. The history of the world cannot give any systematic account for more than 3,000 years into the past. But before that, the whole world was under the flag and military strength of Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was the emperor of the world. At present, there are hundreds and thousands of flags flapping in the United Nations. But during the time of Vidura, there was, by the grace of Ajita, Lord Krishna, only one flag. The nations of the world are very eager to again have one state and one flag. But for this, they must seek the favor of Lord Krishna, who alone can help us become one worldwide nation. Very interesting to see this. I mean, we can only imagine this at this point. So, two things, two main uh, uh, points that are coming out, or the direction that's coming out in this purport is one, Vidura is actually, he's going on pilgrimage and he is now at Prabhasa Kshetra. And we all know the importance of Prabhasa Kshetra to all of us. And it's, mainly in Krishna Lila, it's extremely a very important place, Prabhasa Kshetra. And the next part is at that time, Maharaj Yudhishthir was the emperor and held the world under one military strength and one flag. So we have read in the first canto how Maharaj Yudhishthir's reign was, his rule or his emperorship. How was it? We saw how Maharaj Yudhishthir was so fixed in his attention on Krishna, and he did everything to please him. Therefore, all the subjects also got directionally um, guided in that way. And through whatever occupations they were engaged, they were actually trying to please Krishna. Some say that Haritoshanam was happening in practice, not just in theory, in practice. And not just with human beings, not just with the movable or living entities. Even the living and even nature was paying their tributes. mountains were flourishing. They put out a lot of um, herbs and whatever is very nourishing to people because they were engaged in serving Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was engaged in serving Krishna. And the rivers and oceans, everywhere there was so much life to the world. That was Maharaj Yudhishthir's reign. And he actually, it was not an easy journey for him to get to this point. It was a very long, rough journey. And he didn't even willingly do it in one sense to have this emperorship. So he did according to the will of Krishna that we looked at in first canto, ninth chapter in Bhishma Dev's prayers. So after all this, everything is set. Everything is settled in one sense, at least the way we see it, right? He was the emperor and he held the entire world under one military strength and one flag. And Prabhupada brings out a point in the purport that no other means of artificial unity can make it happen. Unity will happen only when there's a common goal and a common um, purpose and a common person, very importantly. So there is this common person, Krishna, and therefore everything was working towards prosperity. Everybody was united. But currently, when we think we can pull out so many challenges that we have in the way the world is at this point, we can't even imagine the entire world being under one emperor. But now, when we see, we can probably at least appreciate how so much divisions at this point. There are so many divisions of borders and divisions of resources and divisions in terms of even relationships with one country versus other, or within the same country there is one state versus the other, within the same state there is one sect versus the other. So there's a lot of division, therefore this quarrel and hypocrisy, of course. But there's only one way this can be um, fixed, or uh, solution is only one way. The way is Krishna. So therefore Prabhupada, we can see how he brought the entire world in one umbrella of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. By bringing Krishna in the center, at least we can see that there's no divisions of um, race or nationality, all these kind of things. Prabhupada, at least from Prabhupada's perspective, he really brought the entire world under one flag of Krishna, just like Maharaj Yudhishthir. So now everything is going well. Maharaj Yudhishthir is, really keeping everything good. Now we see that Vidura, when he goes to Prabhasa Kshetra, why is this even mentioned here? He went to all different places. This is mentioned here because of the significance. He goes there and what does he come to know? He comes to know that everybody, all his kinsmen, or at least, the major portion of them have been, or have died. They're dead. They're no more present. Yes, Pandavas were present for their service. But if we see that there was nobody else, everyone has left. Mainly the Kauravas, everyone has left. And Yadavas are also relatives of Vidura. Everybody is left, especially in Prabhasa Kshetra. What exactly happened is they all fought with each other and they died. So the analogy is given that a forest fire is not really like, it happens by friction. It's not, nobody has to set it on fire. Forest, you just, okay, you go and set a forest on fire. It's not like that. It just happens by friction. And first thing is Vidura comes to know about this, you know, ghastly news that Yadus have left. And how did they leave? They fought among each other. That's even worse to even imagine. If we imagine ourselves, let us try to imagine ourselves. If we imagine ourselves, we just go for, I mean, we don't want this to happen, but just to put ourselves in that place, we just go out for a trip or even say pilgrimage, and we come back to wherever we live or wherever we stay or wherever we feel the belonging, and the entire community is wiped out. Just if we just imagine the entire community is wiped out. And why? How? What was the reason? How? They just fought among each other and killed each other. It's like something unimaginable. But just when we see Vidura, it is really uh, something, how he's processing everything. I mean, we'll read, I guess, in the future verses, but then we just see how, first of all, he left the palace. He left Dhritarashtra's palace because of the friction, because of, um, there was no unity. He left. And then now he comes here and he goes on pilgrimage, and on the way, he's coming to know this news. So wherever there is always friction everywhere. But there are difference in quality of friction between this both, obviously. One on Duryodhana's side was purely envy that was playing the force. It was his own or one's own um, greed and envy and uncontrollable desire to lord over material nature that was playing the role for the friction there. But here, all these Yadavas have gone. It kind of looks like as if it is they fought among each other and they left or they killed each other. But there is such a hand on of Krishna directly on there. And why even this Yadavas have to go this way? Because it's mentioned um, that there's nobody else can actually control them for the physical power, for the spiritual power, for their everything. And specifically, if Krishna is winding up, the devotees are going to miss him. It's going to be even more of a challenge. So this is Krishna's arrangement, even though it apparently looks like something else. But here in Duryodhan's case, it's totally, uh, you know, his issues and his greed. So they look similar, but they're very different. This is what Vidura is facing at this point, and he continues his his pilgrimage. Of course, he just continues his pilgrimage um, to the next place, and there is a lot of list. So then he meets Uddhava in this entire pilgrimage, and there's a lot of other messages that come through meeting between Vidura and Uddhava, and how Vidura is directed to hear from Maitreya. This whole section is a lot of important messages come out. So uh, just to see Vidura's ability to face everything and continue in his process of devotional service. He's just continuing. He didn't sit there and just done kind of a message. Okay, I saw this there, I saw this here. This is all it is about. This entire, no matter whether they're devotees or not practicing, this is it. He didn't come to that conclusion immaturely. He just saw the fact and he's just moving on in his discovery or in his uh, journey of connecting with Krishna at a whole different plane. Now he knows that Krishna has left, but he still continues the pilgrimage. So that's where Vidura stands in his spiritual caliber, and he is one of the very prominent heroes in this canto, at least. But he is very prominent how he processed his own spiritual life and how he tries to go back and share it at the right time with Dhritarashtra. The time, place, circumstance. I mean, of course, even then, Dhritarashtra was not like eagerly waiting for Vidura to come and give this knowledge. But at least a pure devotee knows where to give what, and he goes despite everything that has happened. So for that, first he needed to build his own bhakti sukriti, or I mean, we can call it like he needed the spiritual strength, so he took it. So that's our Vidura, and amazing personality. So that's where we end today. If there's any discussions, we can try. Today being a Saturday, we have time. Not that I know many things. At least we can try to see what inspired each of us. It's really amazing personality of exemplifying perseverance, exemplifying focus, exemplifying um, the deep desire to be single pointed in his own um, spiritual life. His journey was not easy. From the beginning, it has not been easy. When he was in the palace, it was not easy. Nobody, I mean, the main person who needs to take his suggestion was not taking, right? Dhritarashtra was not taking his advices. He seemed like he was, but he was so weak internally. So in Bhagavad Gita, we hear he was bereft of spiritual vision, not just his eyesight. He was bereft of spiritual vision, and therefore he didn't value Vidura's association. Duryodhan didn't value, the entire Kauravas didn't value. Yes, the people in the background who kind of valued was Kunti Devi and uh, Pandavas. But they are, if we see proportionately, they are minority. They are very much minority. The entire assembly is not valuing him. But he did a service for, he thought that, that was his service to the kingdom and indirectly to Krishna. But at the right time, okay, move on. But he never left his focus. When he moved on, it was not a nice situation. They didn't bid him farewell. They did not give him a nice farewell party, glorification. Okay, Vidura, wonderful. No, it was a very ugly scene when he left. And after leaving, he goes to all these pilgrimage places. And Prabhasa Kshetra, he hears a very bad news. So the journey is not very um, so-called smooth. Just like Narada Muni, after his mother passed away, I mean, in his past life, I mean, previous life, of course, uh, he goes through the narration is really amazing. It might look like he is it's just narration of the scene that he's seeing. No, it is actually much deeper. He goes through the forest. Forest means what? Darkness. And he faces wild creatures, wild living entities, animals. It's not easy for a 5-year-old child or anybody, even at my right now. If I were to go like that, what would I do? Every moment there is fear, and every other moment there is allurement. He passes through beautiful cities and gardens and lakes, and um, there's always allurements, and there's also the other ones. So he goes off like that. So similarly, Vidura's journey from the beginning has not been easy, but he has his focus, so he continues. despite whatever happens. So that's the point that's the message that comes out to me from this section. Um, Again, we'll just read the verse once before we discuss. When he was in the land of Bharatavarsha, traveling to all the places of pilgrimage, he visited Prabhasa Kshetra. At the time, Maharaj Yudhishthir was the emperor and held the world under one military strength and one flag. So that's what we are at. Thank you very much, devotees. If you want to share something, you feel please feel welcome.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept mine too, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
It is the pilgrim's path is very fraught with difficulties and absolute loneliness as we compare Narada Muni as a child and Vidura going out. And similarly, I thought of Srila Prabhupada. In India, he was not getting any encouragement. He was, in fact, meeting with just total, disapproval. And then he comes out of there, and what all difficulties he went through. And still, he had the vision of spiritual United Nations.
Yeah.
ISKCON being that is how bold and how beyond ordinary thinking. I was just
Yes.
thinking about that. Mataji. Hare
Thank you very
Krishna.
much. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, Mahajano Yenagata Sapanta for us, Prabhupada is an immediate example. We can see Prabhupada's uh, his mood and his approach to life, how it was so similar to all these personalities to in the Bhagavatam. You know, yeah. Thank you for bringing that out.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada.
Please accept your obeisances to all verse Prabhupada.
Some reflections around the oneness, the feeling of oneness under one flag. So the feeling is the Yudhishthira, even though actually one point comes up as a unity in diversity. There was the whole world is in every country, every place is there is a lot of diversions, but there was unity in diversity in under one flag. That's what Yudhishthira Maharaj created. And that's going away. It's already gone anyway.
Yeah.
But when another thought came was, okay, it's all gone. It's not under one umbrella. But a person goes to a pilgrimage, especially say Vrindavan or Mayapur or any nice pilgrimage, then the feeling of oneness comes because we're all at least the shelter of that abode, whoever the Lord is, right? In that particular place, Dwarka was, Dwarkadish. Maybe we go to then we'll say, okay, we are all the servants, we are all the children. At least that oneness of feeling of oneness will come. Forget about the world, it's gone. At least when we go to the pilgrimage, we will feel that, maybe as a devotee, we may think that, oh, we are not the body, we are the soul. At least we'll come to know something. And then we also think about, Jivera Swarupa Krishnera Nityadas. That means, you see, think about Tirupati. Everybody says Govinda, Govinda, and so many people come, whoever there, whatever it is, right? But the only Nama comes is Govinda, Govinda. So that at least it's giving us the feeling of oneness. We are all under the shelter of that Lordship. That something came to my mind. So at least.
Yeah, true, Prabhu. When we go, like you said, when we go to the places where Krishna is prominent, it becomes easier to connect to that one umbrella. Whereas the places where we don't see Krishna prominently, then it's hard. So Therefore, just like you said, we want to have that experience of having Krishna in the center, and then practice it also, how we can, the way we can after that. But the experience of having Krishna in the center in the yatras, it's amazing, definitely. That's the everywhere we go, where there is prominency of the Lord, it's very amazing, and it's very prominent, very visible in Vrindavan, in one sense, very visible. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing this, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev.
Please accept mine too, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Mataji, the whole class was very wonderful. There were many points I forgot, but one point that stayed with me, and that was like when you described the difficulties in Vidura's life and how he continued being fixed in devotional service, like one pointed attention. And I was thinking that, okay, when we hear of such devotees, it gives us so much strength. Yeah. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, it gives us a direction. When we feel lost, it definitely gives us a direction of what's the most important thing anyway. Right? We just have to drill down again and again and say, what's the most important thing to me anyway? And yeah, it gives a sense of, um, yes, sense of strength and sense of direction, sense of clarity, even though, if it may not last too long sometimes, but these personalities keep it going. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is very important in our life. Therefore, it is one of the 5 most potent activities in devotional service that's given by Srila Rupa Goswami. There, that's the reason why Srimad Bhagavatam is important, is because it just keeps reorienting us, and Bhagavatam never lets us down. Because it's in front of our face. It's like, it's not so subtle sometimes. The scriptures, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, because of its voluminous capability of having all different personalities in it, Bhagavatam will not fail us. The other certain things are self-realization. Here it is, yeah, self-realization, but Bhagavatam also puts it like an objective format in front of your eyes. You see, when you read, do you see what Vidura is going through? That's how it comes up. So thanks for bringing that up. Yes, these personalities are amazing. From the beginning, from first canto, just unimaginably amazing. Beginning from Suta Goswami and all these sages after 1,000 years sacrifice, you want to still hear from somebody? I mean, you don't feel like a failure? I can't imagine that. I mean, very easy to feel like a failure, or, okay, this doesn't work. It's beyond my hands. I don't want to do anything. Um, I Those seem to be reasonable responses after conducting 1,000 year sacrifice. That too, not for themselves, for somebody
Yes.
else. And then at the end of it, they're still willing to hear from someone. That means their purpose was clear. Their purpose was very crystal clear, and so from there until now, third canto, yeah, we have we have a lot of resources to gain strength, or at least reorient ourselves to our strength. So
Yes, Mataji. And
thank
how
you
to
so
handle
much.
things practically also, like, Vidura leaving the palace and turning the external energy into the internal energy completely, just by his consciousness, he did that.
Yeah, it's a lot. My goodness, I mean, it's like trauma.
Yeah.
Sorry to say. In our words, and I mean, at least my words, it feels like a big trauma, and where you need thousands of hours of counseling. But then he moves on. Anyway. Yeah.
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Thank you,
I
bro.
was just thinking in that line. I mean, Vidura has the association of, I mean, the Lord Krishna himself, right? When he was at the palace. So, I mean, he was going through a lot of other challenges, but he had the association of the Lord. But then he left and then went to the pilgrimage, and after a long time, he was, I mean, almost at the end of his pilgrimage, he came to know this news. I mean, it is very, very, I mean,
Devastated.
yeah, it's, I don't know, I mean, how, because I don't think there are many verses there, right? He just heard the next verse, I think, is talks about he heard this news and then he proceeds further. Then he
Yeah.
talks Uddhava, right, later. So, but I mean, I'm just trying to think, Mataji, I mean, the kind of uh, challenging time that, I mean, of course, the whole thing, Vidura's life is everything is a lesson. But I mean, at this time,
Yeah.
so he kind of moved on even from the association of the Lord. I mean, it's not that he doesn't want to take the association. So I was just thinking about I mean, he was almost coming back to
Yeah.
happy, but at the again, Lord is not there anymore.
Yeah. That reminds me of something that I heard from Krishna Nandini Mataji. Um, he's Vidura seems to have left Krishna's, I mean, all kinds of possible in person interactions with Krishna, because when Krishna came to Hastinapur, he stayed with Vidura. He went there to have lunch. I mean, how frequently, that's a different story. But then that was his place to go. And Vidura forsakes that opportunity and goes. There is something deeper in this aspect. And once Krishnandini Mataji said that after Srila Prabhupada left, I mean, to just hear that from her was very powerful for me. So I'm sharing. In Gita Nagari, when she came for Petals of ISKCON um, seminar, I think it was sometime Memorial Day weekend. I don't remember the year, 2012 or 2013 or something like that. And we were just talking. She said, when Prabhupada left, she needed to discover Prabhupada in her heart. She said it in a very profound way, which means too much more than what I can probably say. But Vidura here also, he is now in a journey to discover his relationship with Krishna. They are at a very different place. I mean, for us, we are definitely recommended whenever a saintly person comes. We don't, at that time, we don't start thinking, let me discover my relationship with the saintly person or saints in my heart so I don't have to go. That's not the direction that that's advised here, because um, the more we take, the more it stays with us. So we do want to take as much as we can, or actually beyond what we can. Um, when we do that, then time will anyway demand us to go inside. And anyway, the saintly personalities are not just living with us, they come visit us and we take at that time. Then, when we leave or they leave, we have an opportunity to go within. If we don't even take in the first place, then it becomes extremely rough to find anything inside. That's one angle I was thinking. But what the point that you mentioned is, yeah, it's quite astonishing to see how Vidura left, the this so somewhat of an opportunity, and when he comes back, it's not even there. Or when he tries to wind up his pilgrimage, he's not even winding up. Of course, he has a lot to discuss with Maitreya at this point, but towards the end of, he's going to come and settle down in one place to hear from Maitreya. But even before that, this news comes to him. So it's very shocking. But he knows what he's looking for and he's moving on. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for bringing. Yes, it's very hard.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you connected nicely. When we get the opportunity, we don't want to.
No,
We cannot
because
make it
that's
Vidura
the
stage, right? So,
yes. No, it's not even about Vidura stage. We have to see our mind. It's like babies have feeding bottles with milk, or and the main um, main task of material nature or the mind is to remove that feeding bottle from the baby's mouth. If it, that's the only source of nourishment. The 1 month old, 2 month old child or the infant cannot really, okay, milk is gone, okay, let me go eat a chapati. It doesn't work like that for them. So their nourishment, if it is disconnected, so the mind's trick is when someone takes time to give to us, we may think, or mind might propose to a living entity that, you know what, your goal is to be internal. So let's go internal. So that mind metric, that we may have to look beyond it if we want to gain something beyond the mind. That something comes to me too. Yeah. Similar with Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam comes to us, and I'm also saying for myself, it's so hard to live in this world, but Krishna is providing some facilities anyway for us to move on. Hard to live in this world with single focus. That's what I meant by what I meant. Yeah. Anyway, Vidura is a hero. He shows us very practically as well as philosophically. Yeah. Any other comments, sharing? We
Hare
have the
Krishna Mataji.
liberty of time. Hare Krishna
Yeah.
Prabhu.
Just because we had started this topic, because it's in the coming verses, we are
Yes.
Vidura maybe around 20 days pass over there, and now he reach over here. He got news that and already he is in the Prabhas Patan today. You had reached him over there. So Dwarika is just next to there, means maybe within a few days he can reach over there. But he's not going over there, and he knows that now Krishna will come over there. And maybe he is doing pilgrimage maybe around 38 or 36 years. And then now he met to the Uddhava.
Yeah.
So one question then, why he didn't went over there Dwarka, because now Krishna is there. But he is going all the another places pilgrimage, but he is not going to the Dwarika.
Yeah.
Any thought on that?
Thank you, Prabhu, for raising this discussion point. In the one of the previous verses, I think the 17th verse, uh, it's not directly mentioned, but where is it? I'm just going back. 17th verse. Yeah. Sorry, 1 second. Yes. Vidura undoubtedly was a highly elevated and pious soul. And to uh, to develop his bhakti piety, he started doing the pilgrimage. That's what is told in the previous verses. Now we can actually think right now that when Duryodhan insulted, Krishna was present in the planet. He wasn't, he was present in the planet. So actually, Vidura could have just picked up his bag and just went straight to where Krishna was. But he felt extremely humbled. I mean, we really cannot even imagine to imitate him. He felt extremely humbled by his connection with this, like just like Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. They felt like they were contaminated because of being employed by the government, right? So he felt extremely humbled that now let me purify myself first. And my purification will come. Yes, definitely. When you go to Krishna, yeah, he looks at you. It's like
Excellent.
sun drying away the vomitous or something, right? Krishna looks and everything is poof, gone. But he is going to, one goes to pilgrimage to hear from the saints. That's the method of purification he adopted. So he went to different places to appreciate the bhakti of the other saints that are in there to Krishna. So by appreciating and by observing their bhakti and by being around them, something may rub upon me, please. That's the approach he took. So therefore, the pilgrimage is not about the places. Pilgrimage is about, the when there's even this, I don't know where exactly in one of the cantos, this explanation of why Mother Ganges is purifying. People go and deposit their sins in there in one sense. It's like, okay, go, I did all this kind of nonsense before. Ganga Mata, please let me, get me purified. Go dip there and deposit. But what's the potency of Mother Ganges to erase this? And then there's discussion on how actually the place of pilgrimage becomes pilgrimages because of the Krishna Katha that goes on there. So therefore, he took this route because of his humility and because of his intense desire to actually be with devotees. I mean, he has been in this kingdom, and this Dhritarashtra, this Duryodhana is dealt with his affairs for too long. And he felt that, my God, my mind is now contaminated. Let me first hear and then, So that's the only reason I've heard from different speakers. And even I think in one of the purports, it says that he goes for bhakti piety. Actually.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent answer. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other than that, see the Mahajanas, what is their main motive, or there is no motivation. Motivation is different. What motive they have is to just preach Mahajanas, right? And Vidura is Mahajana. And what do they do? They always so parasparano katanam. They're always looking for that, no matter what, whether there is happiness or distress, doesn't matter for them. They want to preach. It's like yesterday we discussed, they were like Avaduta. They want to be a traveling preacher. If not in one place, they want to go and preach and get association from the devotees. So that shows that he was a real Mahajan. Doesn't matter. He doesn't want to be in the kingdom, having the material affairs. Forget it. He was more inclined towards the bhakti, as you said. That means the more discussion of Krishna's katha. That's why he was shaking. So in that way, we can see that devotees, they cannot stay in place, that they always want association. Right? That's another thought came in my mind.
Yeah.
That as a devotee, we cannot just, it'll be otherwise, it's like a handicap, something we lost something in our life. If you don't even hear Krishna Katha one day, you feel that, oh my God, I've lost something today. Then what about the Mahajanas? What do they think?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then you reminded me of something. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation of the first canto, second chapter, verses 17 to 21. There's Burijan Prabhu writes it basically in Unveiling His Lotus Feet. He really describes the entire thing. Those are the famous verses, Nashta Prayasha Bhadreshu, that series that we offer in prayers in the morning. In that, we only know, we can see that there are 9 stages in bhakti, right? Adav Shraddha to Prema. And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has 14 stages. He unpacks it. He's so expert in unpacking things. So when he unpacks it, the first stage is not even Adav Shraddha. The first stage is Satam Kripa, meaning the mercy of the devotees. That's where we even get the faith, a tiny bit directional faith. So that's similar to Nectar of Devotion, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 2, sorry. The first, the eligibility for devotional service, that's the title of the chapter, beginning stages of eligibility, one of those chapters. The point is that how does one execute devotional service? How? Yes, one has to have taste or faith in our line. Taste doesn't mean the ruchi bhava, that taste. Ruchi in the beginning, like the faith, beginning faith or beginning taste. But how does that taste come? By mercy of the devotees. And when does it like, okay, if we keep hearing that the person left the devotional service in such so and so stage last life, and he's continuing or she's continuing from this life onwards. So but then they got taste from last life. Where did that taste come from? That also came from the mercy of devotees. So satam kripa actually is the most important factor in our bhakti, and therefore we hanker for satam kripa, whether they come to us or we go to them, or both ways. So that what Balaram Prasad Prabhu what he shared reminded me of how important it is. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you for that. Because sometimes we feel, oh, sadhana is important or mercy is important. Without mercy, we cannot do the sadhana.
Yeah, whatever we are doing right now is also mercy. Somebody told me in the beginning that you think you are following four regulative principles. No, actually, it's being that you feel like even following because of the mercy. Of course, when we don't follow, we don't say, okay, I don't have mercy, so I'm not following. That's not the direction. But then it means that we need more. We want to go hanker and take more when we see that there is something difficult that's happening in our life, which is so very common. Anyway, sorry, Prabhu. Yeah. These topics are very introspective. Yeah.
Yeah, more churning is happening. That shows something when you speak, probably.
I think we had enough time today too, because the verse was short and we finished by 8 o'clock. We have 30 minutes to discuss. It's a big deal. Normally we are like, sorry, every 2 minutes there's apology. Sorry, I'm extending. Sorry, I'm extending. But now we still have 3 more minutes, which is great. Yeah.
Thank you for your association, Mathaji.
Thank you. Thank you also,
Excellent
Prabhu.
discussion.
Thank you very much for being here and giving your bhakti to everybody. Thank you so much. Any final statements? Otherwise, we will end with the inspiration that we gain from Vidura to keep going despite what may happen, what may not happen in our lives. But this one thing that's most precious to us, to keep connecting back to this most precious thing for us is bhakti. Oh, Krishna, please protect it, kind of a mood, and keep going, I guess. Yeah. Thank you so much. We will move on to the next verse from tomorrow. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo
Vaishnavebhyo
namah.
Namo Namah.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Bhagavatam. Ananta